I call this meeting of the Greenbelt City Council to order. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz,
Present.
Councilmember Niesel,
Here.
Councilmember McKinney. Here. Councilmember Pompey. Here. Councilmember Pope,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Weaver,
Here.
Mayor Jordan.
I'm here. Councilmember McKinney, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Councilmember Niesel, will you share the community pledge?
The strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people. By sharing together, all are enriched. We strive to be a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair.
Well, thank you very much. So at this time, please join us in a moment of silent reflection as we pause to remember residents and others who have passed away since the last council meeting. And we've got former resident Anne Louise McCord Curante. Please join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you, thank you. So let me just say this. We hold council meetings 2 times a month except for August and December, on Mondays to set policy and to take formal actions. Tonight's session is open to the public, as are all council sessions and meetings except for executive sessions as authorized by state law. Residents can observe our deliberations and will pause periodically to provide opportunities for public comment. If you wish to speak during those times, if you're here in person, just raise your hand, and after being recognized, you can go to the podium. You'll need to state your name and where you live. We need that for the minutes. And also, if you are here, we're starting a new practice, and if you are here and you want to do a petition, we'd like to ask you to actually sign in at the sheet that's on the table so that we can have a record of who's here to do that. So if you're in person, just raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, use the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. You can submit a written question, or you can raise your virtual hand, and once again, we will promote you so that you can speak. Don't take anonymous comments, though. And if you're watching remotely, you can send an email comment to us. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. So during the meeting, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and it's 5 minutes during petitions and requests. And just speak on one topic, the topic that's under consideration during the meeting. And as always, we ask you to remain civil and avoid disparaging the comments, questioning the motives of others. So at this time, are there any petitions or requests? Please.
Hi, my name is Christine Wilkin. I live on Ridge Road, and I came today because I'm part of the Greenbelt Resistance Network, and the members of my network, they were concerned about security cameras and did some independent research to look at what kind of security cameras we have in Greenbelt, and we found that this is not your parents' security camera. These are, we have Verkita cameras, and they are recording 24/7, and the footage and all that data gets uploaded onto a cloud, and the company owns the cloud, so that we have concerns about like who has access to that data, and how's the police using that data? Do they need to have a warrant to get that data? Is it being shared with other federal agencies? And just are we planning to get more of these cameras? Because these cameras, it's one thing to get a license plate reading camera or just like a regular security camera where all the data is on the camera, or someone has to actually like look at all the footage. But these days you can use AI and you can just target someone, and the police can really use that to target someone. And we're wondering, does the police need to have a warrant to look at this data, or is it just kind of willy-nilly? Any officer can go in and access that. We just want transparency. And the group that I'm in, they compiled a bunch of questions, and that's in the letter that I shared with you. And I just would like to motion that we discuss this and add it to the agenda, and that at some point these questions get answered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will say that City Council hears petitions, but we don't make immediate decisions during the meeting. After a petition is presented, the council can refer the matter to city staff for resolution so that they can research it and further investigate and add it to a future meeting agenda. Updates on the status of all petitions are posted on the city website for public information. So we will certainly refer the questions to the city manager, and he will follow up. We have had extensive discussions around those issues, cameras. Mr. Orleans?
Thank you, Bill Orleans again. Two things, if I might. One, well, three things actually. Speaking on behalf of this resident, and I would hope other residents, especially since it's not yet been determined by council to do this as it relates to the standing rules, suggesting that petitioners and requesters tonight would have to sign in, and I would argue in the future is inappropriate. There was a question asked during the public hearing about council's deliberations in closed session as to determine which parcels to annex and which not to. The request was made that there be more information forthcoming of all those many council closed sessions discussing potential annexation, and I'm restating that request. I would like there to be a greater expansion of information of council's closed session discussions determining these parcels. Lastly, there's proposed for the consent agenda tonight, which council has not yet adopted, the RTA contract approval item. I was racing to read through the contract, and frankly, I don't think there's much of a contract in here. But at one point, it suggests the cost for this year, or if it's approved, would be, I don't know, $13,000 with $1 million discount. So that would be the first year, $13,000. Presumably, does that mean that the discount would not be offered the second year? Anyway, I'd like there to be more discussion about this contract, so I have time to read what's in the packet. And I would request that council pull that from consent and have it as an agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. Ms. Rosenthal?
Laura Rosenthal, 2 Court Garden Way. I received a copy of the Greenbelt Resistance Network letter, which I believe was sent to all of you or was sent to Ms. Anderson. Anyway, looking at it, there's actually like 11 questions. And I know that you all are very good about keeping that petitions listing of each petition, but I don't get the sense that every petition's actually like followed through with. So I would be curious, like, who would be the person that would be best to answer this? Would it be the city manager, the assistant city manager, or perhaps Chief Bowers, since a lot of this data and everything like that would have to do with the police department? I know one time when I did, I worked with a gentleman named Felipe Orlando, and he asked about no more fuel on the landscaping equipment. I don't know if most few of you were on council at that time, but he actually got a written answer from Jason Martin. It was like a 3-page letter that it had been referred to the Public Works Department, and the person that actually knew about, you know, mowers and blowers and everything like that actually like researched it and got back to them. But I think this is the kind of thing that would be really important to get a detailed answer to each of these things. There's over 100 people that are part of the Greenbelt Resistance Network, and I think they'd all be very interested to know, what these cameras are going to be used for. Is it just for speed bumps and just stop signs, or is it for, a much greater reason than that, and who would have access to the information? So hopefully you all got a copy or will get a copy of the letter. Great. And somebody will be given the responsibility of answering their 11 questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, the city clerk records each petition that we receive on city council, and the city manager actually reviews those petitions and figures out the best way to proceed, unless council makes a specific referral. So I think that City Manager Summerall, would you like to comment on the process?
You covered, Mr. Mayor. Usually the items are assigned to me, and I assign them to relevant staff. Some are answered by my office directly. Others are the subject matter experts within the organization. On this particular topic of the cameras, I encourage residents to look at the videos when we made the presentation about what the LPR technology includes. We went into great detail about the maps, how we would use that data, where's the data stored. So we covered that in the initial presentation. Chief and I have spoken recently about adding additional cameras because through our implementation process, we found some savings in the implementation. So we have funds to add additional cameras at the same cost. So we have identified areas that were not covered in the maps that we presented to council, and we identify other areas that are suitable for new cameras to capture stolen vehicles coming through the city. So we plan to bring a proposal back to council on adding additional license plate reader cameras so that we can cover a larger portion of the city. But we have recordings of the last presentation we made. It will build on that presentation.
And that's the kind of information you would forward when there's a petition. You would suggest maybe give links to some of the different work sessions, as we have had extensive discussions around that.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any other petitions or requests? Hearing none, let's go ahead and move to the next section of the agenda, which would be approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda, or is there a motion, or would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I would like to move to approve the.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And that brings us to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Yes, Councilmember Pompey.
Yes, I'd like to, can you, hello?
Okay.
Did it come through, James?
Did you hear me?
Okay,
I'd like
now-
to remove items 9 and 10 from the agenda, please.
Okay, okay. So could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Adopt the agenda minus those two items?
No, I just heard a motion to remove those two items.
Correct.
Second on the motion to remove those two items. I mean,
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Wait,
Okay, so,
No,
Yeah.
for discussion now,
oh,
right? People can discuss. if they'd
okay.
like to.
Any discussion? Okay, well, could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Is there a second?
Second.
No, we didn't. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you so much. So the next section of the agenda is communications, and tonight we take a moment to officially recognize March 2026 as Women's History Month here in Greenbelt. I've got a proclamation that honors the vital contributions women have made to our city's governance, culture, and social fabric throughout history. And I don't know if there are any women or any men here that would like to stand up and come forward to accept this proclamation. Now is the time. So please come forward as I present this proclamation.
I mean, we can
You do have 5
women here on council.
Point.
You want to stand up with us, Silky? Oh, sure. Well, we can all stand, because we all support Women's History Month.
There you go.
Right?
Okay, whereas women of diverse races, classes, ethnicities, and sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities have made enduring contributions to the vitality and prosperity of our nation and this community, and whereas women have faced and overcome discrimination, harassment, and adversity with courage and resilience, steadfast in the belief that persistence and determination can surmount any barrier, and whereas women are indispensable to the economic, cultural, and social life of our nation, shaping its direction, progress, and future, and whereas throughout history, women have been pivotal advocates for suffrage and equal opportunity and have led transformational movements, including abolition, emancipation, the industrial labor movement, and the civil rights movement, often spearheading those progressive social change initiatives. And whereas from the very founding of Greenbelt to the present day, women have emerged as influential advocates, thought leaders, and community builders, among them First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who championed Greenbelt as a model of equitable, planned community life. And whereas the 2026 national theme, Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future, honors women whose vision, advocacy, and stewardship are creating safer and more resilient communities for generations to come. And whereas, despite their invaluable contribution, the roles and achievements of women have too often been marginalized and undervalued in historical narratives and scholarly records. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2026 as Women's History Month in the City of Greenbelt in recognition of the enduring impact of women in all spheres of life and in reaffirmation of our community's commitment to inclusive and equitable representation here in the city. So I'd like to present this to all of you.
Yes, I'll hold on to it since I'm the closest.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody want to say anything about Women's History Month?
Well, I can, and I should have pulled this up, but in some of my research of council history over the last couple of years, we actually had a woman on Greenbelt City Council in the late 1930s. Not the very first council, but I think maybe the second council. And I do somewhere have that name if I can pull it up quickly enough. So I think that's something that is notable. I think we're going on, what, 2 years? 2 years. I guess we've more than 2 years of having a supermajority of women on Greenbelt Council. We also had I believe the first woman mayor in Maryland. Here we go. Let's see if I can find. So I don't know, did I put it in? So, of course, we've had some very long-serving mayors, but I'm trying to find the notable, okay, so first woman elected to Greenbelt City Council, Ruth Taylor, who served from 1938 to 1941. This is all thanks to the Greenbelt News Review archives, by the way. And then Elizabeth Harrington was the first woman elected mayor of Greenbelt and likely the first woman mayor in Maryland overall. I haven't found definitively anywhere else, but she served on council starting in 1947 and as mayor from September 1949 to June of 1951. So I think those are, and then of course we have some other notable women mayors of Greenbelt. Antoinette Tony Bram was mayor from, served 14 years, including 2 terms as mayor. She served from 1983 to 1997 on council and was mayor from 1993 to 1997. And then of course, I don't think I saw Jay Davis online, but of course Jay is she is tied for the longest past council member. I guess now not anymore, but because now that Mr. Roberts isn't on council anymore, she's tied for the second longest
third longest, I think. Anyway, yeah, tied for third longest, but served as mayor from 1997 to 2011, and was also mayor pro tem from 1995 to 1997 and 2011 to 2017. And so, served on council for a long time and mayor for a long time. And so I think we have some impressive women's history right here in Greenbelt. And eventually I will get these slides. I need to get them, make them fully accessible to be 508 compliant, and then I need to get them to our city staff to get them on the city website.
And the legacy lives on. So that's it for the month of March. Hey, I don't know. Does the museum have?
Started.
Yeah, it just started. Well,
We got weeks left of celebrating women's history.
how many more
Mary
hours?
Jordan.
Okay. Okay. Well, at this time, let's go ahead and move on to the next section of the agenda, which is administrative reports. Mr. Summerone, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Mayor. We had a very busy week, and just one day into the week, and it's been very busy so far. Thank you. Good evening, council. Good evening, residents. We have a lot to report, and I'm reminded by how we kicked off the week. Right in front of you is a check for $1,804,969. This is a result of our application for the federal directed grants program. So we received this amount to a quarter, $250,000 of it will go towards the expansion project of Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center, and $1,500,000 will go towards the replacement of the youth center roof. And that makes up the $1.8 million. So we're really excited to have received that check today. Thank you, council, for joining the celebration today. We had a great turnout. The Earth Squad did a wonderful job. Such energy should be in showcase today. And that reminds me that we've just submitted next year's earmarks projects. Council provided some direction on the capital projects that you wanted us move forward, so we move forward those 3 projects, and fingers crossed and advocacy, we hope to be successful next year through the federally directed grant program.
It was so exciting having the senators and the congressmen here in Greenbelt for that presentation. Also, Senator Alsobrooke stuck around for a little while. She took a look at the Three Sisters Garden and some of the recreational amenities that we have there. It's really nice. She was really impressed with the Earth Squad.
Yes, and it was impressive to see that conversation with Ms. Davis and Senator Alsobrooks, how interested she was to hear what the kids are learning, what they're growing, and she's asking for tips herself on how to grow her garden. So there's a lot of enthusiasm and interest for our young people over in Spring Hill Lake. So we start off today with that project. Ms. Pope, I've got confirmation today that the pool is at 83.5 degrees.
I was there on Sunday.
So it was at 86, now it's at 83.5. So
Yeah, I noticed on Sunday it cooled off
Okay.
a little bit, but still, it's good. I'm okay with it.
so I'm going through my list of things.
Thank you.
We're working on our budget. We are on schedule to deliver a balanced budget to council on March the 23rd. And thank you all for joining us last week. On March 4th, we hosted the council meet and greet. We had over 25 participants, and we were able to provide a brief overview of the proposed budget. We had a draft budget that we presented on Wednesday. Obviously, it's still preliminary. We have until March 23rd, but we're getting really close. So far, we have a balanced budget, and we're just making adjustments on revenues and some expenses as information's coming in. All right, so other major events that happened, we started the construction project on the EV charging stations that were kicked off on Friday. We have the H-frame and the circuit breaker box. Today, the team did trenching, and we have the conduit running up along the parking lot there. So over the next week, they'll pour in the concrete and complete that area of the work. in 3 to 4 weeks, we'll do the excavation across the driveway. And we're coordinating that work with the library and all the users of the youth center and the community center, so that we can coordinate programming and not interfere in the work. So but that work would take place overnight or after hours, so that we have the minimal impact on the use of that parking lot. And soon, by our hope or target date is to have those EV charging stations on by June 30th, so that we qualify for the EV tax credit that's available. It expires June 30th. And our contractors assure me that if it wasn't for DPI, we will have this project completed already. But we are where we are. We have the construction permits. They're working quickly so that we can turn these EV charging stations on June 30th. And that, just for perspective, that credit would be about 6% of the project, and it's a $238,000 project so far. All right, we finalized our single audit submission. That's in addition to our annual audit, we do a single audit for the federal government for our federal grant dollars. We've completed that work. We kicked off the GIS roadmap planning with ESRI. As a reminder to council, we have partnered with ESRI to conduct a geospatial mapping strategic plan. So we had a kickoff meeting. Our next meeting will be a full day in-service meeting with the design team on March 17th. And Ms. Councilmember Pompey will be joining us for that to represent council. And we're really excited and look forward to integrating all of our GIS data. A couple events. We also hosted in partnership with Senator Washington the Pet Resource Fair on Saturday at the Shram Hills Park. It was well attended. A ton of goodies being given away, and the shelter received a sizable donation of dog food as a result of the event. So we'll have pet food available at the animal shelter. So we look forward to giving that away. We have 2 events coming up that would be of interest to council. That's the March 18th, the ACE Educator Awards, and then the Egg Hunt, April 4th. So get your costumes ready, or just come watch. And with that, I conclude my report, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Well, thank you very much. Just so many things going on in the city right now. It's having the ceremony today, the meet and greet. I wasn't able to attend the meet and greet, but I understand that was very successful. So are there any questions? Councilmember Niesel.
Thank you. I received word today that there were 11 families in court today after being evicted or for evictions, and I was wondering if, per the 2021 Greenbelt ordinance, we had received word of these tenants being evicted or these proceedings, and if we are not receiving word, are we then fining these landlords or property owners $100 per instance? If you don't have an answer now, that's also totally fine.
I do not have an answer because I have not received notice, but I looked over at our Planning and Community Development Director, Sue, here. And
not knowing what developments were being represented, I can't speak to that. I can tell you that the last month we received 2 listings from 2 property owners with several names on those, and our protocol is then to forward those to CARES. So we've did that. We have also started a very proactive approach. So anytime we do relicensing, we ensure that the ordinance, because what we're seeing is a change in management, and they're not aware of the ordinance. So we are starting education. So we've seen more of those, but without being we don't receive notification. So our enforcement is strictly on either really a complaint basis.
Thank you. If you had received 2 notices, I know that there were 2 facilities that were doing evictions. One was doing it slightly more humanely than the other. So I was more worried about the one that wasn't. So I'm glad to know that you did receive word from 2 property managers, though. Thank you.
thank you for your question.
Well, thank you very much. Are there other questions or things to share from council? Please,
I
City Manager.
have one more announcement. I don't know if I forgot this because it's critical. We have posted the job openings for summer camp counselors.
Ah,
So those portals are open.
okay. And those job opportunities fill up pretty quickly.
Yes,
So,
they do.
Is there any sort of a requirement, age requirement or anything
It varies by program. We do hire minors for different camp activities.
Okay, that's fantastic. At this time, let's go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, council member, please.
We also have a public hearing or a town hall tomorrow night, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yes, we have a very important town hall that I've received messages already for. It is the town hall with the cell phone providers, the carriers. So we have participation from Verizon and T-Mobile tomorrow, right here in this room, 7 o'clock.
Okay. Well, at this time, let's go ahead and move to the legislation section of the agenda, section number 3. And we are going to proceed with the second reading and adoption of the annexation resolutions regarding significant federal and significant federal lands. The action overall, we had proposed 2,200 total acres of Bark NASA property to bring them within the city limits and boundaries to enhance the potential for local oversight and regional influence. So this discussion and the vote that we take tonight is a major step in formalizing our jurisdictional boundaries and our long-term partnership with federal neighbors. So this process began back in 2025. In September and December, Council approved contracting with Charles P. Johnson and Associates to prepare to do a survey of the boundaries, 3 large areas of public land. So tonight, with the modifications to the agenda, we're moving ahead with Area 3, the Bark NASA property. And I don't know if Ms. Ruby or anyone wants to comment on where we are, but
We should put a motion on the table first.
that's what I was about to do.
Well, Ms. Ruby can't do that.
So would someone like to make a motion?
I move for second reading and adoption of a charter amendment resolution of the City Council of Greenbelt enlarging the corporate boundaries of the City of Greenbelt by annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Greenbelt lands contiguous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries property commonly known as Bark NASA number 3, consisting of approximately 1,196 plus or minus acres of land.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pope has seconded. So I was wondering if we could put a map up on the screen, and if Ms. Ruby could, I beg your indulgence, maybe you could kind of describe the.
I certainly will. So the area that we're talking about is, Mayor Pro Tem Weaver indicated, is 1,196 acres. It's bordered by 193 to the south, and Soil Conservation Road to the east, the Parkway, Baltimore Washington Parkway to the west, and Beaver Dam to the north. And so the land, as we indicated, it is federally owned land, both consisting of NASA and Bark. And I will just say for the record that we are under strict, I guess, obligation, if you will, to follow state law when it comes to annexation. So there have been annexation plans available at the Department of Planning and Community Development. I'm aware of at least 2 residents who have come in and taken a look at that plan and reviewed that, as well as we have them on exhibit here as well. The state Maryland Department of Planning was notified, and they did provide written comments. Just really nothing surprising in there, just talking about what water and sewer category that it is in, whether it's in a priority funding area or not. They did not raise any concerns regarding that. I will say there's been a lot of discussions on the sort of how we drew the boundaries. You'll see this is mostly bounded by roadways, and we felt that was the simplest way. In this regard, we did not have to worry about excluding any residential properties, if you will. And one thing that we're bound to do is not create any enclaves. So everything will be within the city of Greenbelt, and then the surrounding will be unincorporated areas.
Well, thank you very much. It's very comprehensive.
And if you just next steps, if some may wonder what the next steps are, under state law with 45 days until the actual resolution comes into effect, that is to allow opportunities under certain state laws. Certain individuals can take action or appeal, if you will, take it to referendum. And then at that time, then we would follow the process with the state and the county to have the lands recognized as being within the city of Greenbelt and file to have our boundaries changed within the State Department of Assessment and Taxation.
Well, thank you, thank you. City Manager Summerall, would you like to comment on where we are and where we're going with this?
I don't have any new information to add. I think Ms. Ruby did a wonderful job in covering the resolution and what we have to do for the next 45 days after this, the resolution becomes effective.
Okay. Any comments from council? Any discussion from the public? Well, yeah. So would someone did?
Well, we
did
already,
actually
we already, yeah, we already moved it. I was just going to note that we did remove the other two. We need for some further discussion later on. That doesn't mean we will not act on those, but this is the one that we're ready to act on tonight.
Very good. Very good. Yes.
I guess I would ask for when we. There we go. Okay. I guess I would just ask when we do discuss the other two parcels, it does seem like there needs to be a little bit more education around what annexation actually means, and just some additional communication out to the community. And so I'm hoping that when we do bring that back to a meeting, that we can maybe have Ms. Ruby come back and be able to give a little bit more discussion to that so that the public understands what it means, if we're annexing it, what it doesn't mean, and things like that. So it's just a request for when we do bring the additional parcels back.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments. Despite everything that we do to kind of communicate what this means, people take in information in different ways. So running ads in the news review, holding public hearings and public meetings, and looking at the videos. The information is out there, but we just need to continue to put it in places where people can find it, so they'll know what we are doing. Councilman Fritz, do you have your hand up?
Yes. And to your point about the news review, I want to say that I want to thank the news review for covering this. I've seen multiple front page stories with the maps on them, so that's obviously helped. But I also understand that not everyone gets to read it cover to cover, so we have more work to do. But just to Councilmember McKinney's point, to be very clear, we're not purchasing this land. It does not become the property of the city of Greenbelt. We're changing municipal boundaries. That's what annexation means. But I thank Councilmember McKinney for, sharing that reminder that, annexation is different than acquisition or purchase, right? These are different things. And it is a little esoteric when it's federal land. So it's not the same as if we were putting someone's house into the city limits.
Thank you. That's a very, very helpful and insightful comment. Thank you very much. Well, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Niesel?
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney?
Yes.
Councilmember Pompey?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Weaver? Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
That's a historic occasion. This is the first time our boundaries have expanded in a long time, a long, long time. So, yeah, there's more to come. Councilman Fritz?
Yeah, I just want to say it's very exciting. We all run on trying to make Greenbelt better, but very rarely do you get to run on making Greenbelt bigger. So, that's just want to comment on how much fun that has been to learn about this process.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, and my point was going to be that NASA Goddard Space Flight Center already uses Greenbelt as their dateline, as their location, but they haven't technically been in the city of Greenbelt. And now, after the 45-day waiting period and all that, they will actually be within our boundaries. So we will have both a NASA center and a nationally administrated park within our boundaries, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay, and there's more to come. We just need to work out a couple of details. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section. I believe that's section 12 of the agenda, and that is a revenue modernization resolution expresses council's support for state legislation that seeks to modernize how Maryland municipalities and counties generate income. As we face rising costs and inflationary pressures, it's critical that the city advocates for diversified funding sources beyond traditional property taxes. Municipalities in Maryland are so constrained in the ways that they can raise revenue. In other states, there's a portion of the sales tax, and there are many other ways that we can raise money. So this resolution is actually supportive and reflective of a priority of the Maryland Municipal League to actually form a task force to study ways that municipalities, the 160 municipalities and entities that make up the Maryland Municipal League. So, could I have a motion, please, or Councilmember Pompey?
For first reading and suspension of the rules, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenbelt in support of House Bill 1142, establishing the task force to modernize county and municipal revenue sources.
Okay, so that may come up at the next council meeting or the subsequent one?
For suspension of the rules, so we have to have a vote
boy.
on that.
Okay, well, can I please have a second to that motion? Councilmember Pope. So let's go ahead and take a vote on that if there's no discussion. City Clerk, can you?
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Niesel,
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney,
Yes.
Councilmember Pompey,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. And would someone like to introduce it for second reading and approval?
Yes, for second reading and adoption, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenbelt in support of House Bill 1142, establishing the task force to modernize county and municipal revenue sources.
Is there a second? Ms. Pope has seconded. Let's have some discussion. Councilmember Pompey.
Yes, so this is something that came up last week at the MML Advocacy Day. So this is a bill that our city council has already supported. We've already written a letter of support on, and the MML is hoping that, and it's already passed through the House, so MML is hoping that this will make it through to crossover, and they're asking their municipalities to pass these resolutions stating their firm support in hopes that it will encourage the Senate to do the same. So that's why this came up for first reading and suspension of the rules, is because crossover is 2 weeks away. So
To actually get this to MML before so that they can use it in their advocacy efforts. And it's just something we need additional ways to raise money. And the discussion, not sure what the task force might come up with, but any sorts of solutions will be helpful. Councilmember Fritz.
Yeah. As Councilmember Pompey noted, we already supported this legislation, and I support moving quickly to share our support of the legislation because, I really think the key term here is modernize revenue sources, right? You think about where the major historical sources of revenue have come from, it's taxation of property, but also, the gas tax is a very important revenue stream for a lot of transportation funding that is becoming less applicable to how we travel. We have a cable tax that doesn't tax streaming, even though that's how most people consume their content now online. And I think for me, the most important thing is I hope this body looks at progressivity of taxation, because our residents, if you're a homeowner or you're a renter who's paying rent that pays the property taxes, you're paying 2.2% on that every year. And that's a decent contribution to pay for the services here. But wealthier individuals, most of their wealth isn't in their housing, but it's in financial instruments and other kinds of wealth. So, asking the wealthiest people, when we're having some people in this country on the trajectory to become the world's first trillionaire, that tax is not going to be taxed at the same rate. That wealth is not going to be taxed as the same rate as most working people's wealth is on their home. So I think really thinking about what it means in 2026 to fairly fund our services, I hope this body really does prioritize progressivity in that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Other comments from council? We have a comment from the public. Please, sir. Is there anybody online?
Thank you, Bill Orleans again. I welcome council resolving its support or its opposition to any state legislation. Whether I would agree with council's perspective or not is a different matter. I would wish that in the future, council might consider resolving its support or opposition to national legislation as well. But more to the point, this reads well, but I don't know what's in the bill. Why aren't we provided a copy of this bill, Mr. City Manager? And why aren't we hearing from Darrell Carrington as to its status in the General Assembly? Is there a hearing date scheduled? Why can't we have more information than just being presented the resolution, which I'm supportive of council considering? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just, to summarize the bill, it's an effort to form a task force to actually study these issues around municipal funding sources, modernizing them. So that really is what the bill is about. And Mr. Carrington has kind of weighed in on this. Please, City Manager Simone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to add that we have included this bill in previous discussions, and it is included in the spreadsheet in the packet. So we have shared this information in the past. So now I know the bill. I'm looking at pages 205 and 206. It's within the list of bills that we have previously disclosed council's interest in supporting or monitoring.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
And we have not included any copy of the bills just because your packets are already 200 pages. So if we were to include the bills, it would be substantially larger. But we provide those links on the spreadsheet for council.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz,
See.
Councilmember Niesel,
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney,
Yes.
Councilmember Pompey,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So that's going to bring us to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 13, which is a modification of the standing rules. We're going to review proposed updates to our standing rules, which are intended to streamline our public meetings and clarify our internal procedures. These changes include establishing a 2-hour limit for regular meetings and formalizing protocols for public comment and council working groups. The goal is to balance thorough deliberation with efficiency to better serve the residents who engage in our process. Let's see, Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to take it away?
It looks like Mr. Summerone has
Mr.
a-
Summerone.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Weaver. Mr. Mayor, I just want to recognize that our city solicitor has joined us, Mr. Jason Deloche.
Welcome. Nice to have you in person. You're online often. But, let's see, can we put the standing rules up on the screen?
Yeah, well, so what I can do, so we got through a lot of these already in our meeting, not last meeting, but the one before. So what's in the packet is, and I think, well, there's the minutes from that meeting that also has Ms. Anderson's notes, but in the packet is that slideshow that I was using to go through the changes that notes the ones that we tabled for later. And then there's also a document that shows, so I accepted all of the ones that we passed 2 meetings ago are accepted and noted in gray in the standing rules. The ones that we did not get to are still in the underlined for track changes. So just so there's the 2 things. But what I can do is, it looks like Ms. Anderson has it up there. So, most of these we don't need to go through because we already passed them, so that is noted. So if you want to just scroll down, Ms. Anderson, until you get to the first one that we tabled. And so I think we need to finish our discussion of these, and then we will actually have to do actually do the resolution to pass the standing rules as we usually do. So this is just sort of getting to the last ones that we didn't get to before.
And to be clear, so in the work session, we came to a consensus on these, the ones that have been discussed, and there's a few more that we still have to kind of vote.
Well, no, we voted 2 meetings ago. So we discussed them at a work session, and then we spent a lot of time on the February 9th meeting going through individually and actually voting on individual changes. So it's not just a work session. We have actually taken action on most of these. There were just a few.
Adopt the whole package.
Right, that'll be the
So we voted on
resolution
them,
coming
we haven't
next.
really
Yeah.
adopted them. Okay.
Did you want to put that back up, or I can do it, Ms. Anderson, if it's easier? So this was one, and I don't know if we've actually, so this one was looking at, I think the concern with this one was, this was a new procedure to ask people to sign in for petitions or to speak or use a comment card. I will confess that I haven't really thought more about how we want to refine this language. I actually went back and watched some of this video just to remind myself from a month ago. I know Councilmember Niesel had expressed some concerns about how this was phrased and how it would be a big change for our residents to sign in this way. So I'm not sure if we actually have anything besides this is where we ended last meeting is the language that's here on the slide. I don't know if we have thoughts about how we would like to refine this language at this point.
Well, if I may, can I ask a question? What,
Councilmember, please go ahead.
thank you. What would this help? What would the sign-in process help us do better?
Well, it would help the city clerk. Sometimes people's names can be a little bit hard to spell. And it would give us a record, I guess, of people actually signing in. So I think that's the motivation. It's and you see it in most other city councils. I think we're kind of unique in the way that we accept comments and petitions.
I think another thing that could help is one of the uses for it, and I think Councilmember Pompey may have brought this up before, is that when you have a controversial issue and you have a lot of people that want to speak, then you can have people note whether their position on something, so you make sure you hear sort of a balanced view of perspectives. You can also have a sense of how many people want to speak. Do you have, like we had people in the room for the public hearing that didn't actually raise their hand to speak, so you have a sense of, do we have 5 people who want to speak or do we have 20 people to want to speak? And I think that could help manage the meeting. I think the other thing that's true is, I know there are some meeting management tools that we can use with the new Civic Plus website that allow listing of people and giving names of who's up next to speak, so people can see who's up next to speak, and that can actually go up on the screen so people would know, oh, there's 3 more people before it's my turn, or things like that. So I think just managing it's not to prevent anyone from speaking, it's just to ask people to sort of let us know that they want to speak and what topic they want to speak on.
Thank you. Let me just ask a question. So, Ms. Pope, a while back, before we moved petitions and requests to the very beginning of the meeting, they were at the end. Where were they in the agenda?
They were further down in the agenda.
Down.
We've moved it up
Yeah.
because so people don't have to sit so long and then, and wait until we're halfway through our agenda.
Right, right. So the fact that we have it at the very beginning of the meeting, it makes it a little bit harder to remind people, please sign in if you petition, if you want to petition. It's hard to do that at the very beginning of the meeting, but it's helpful. Councilmember McKinney, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so the other thing I would think is that, and I just maybe want to clarify this. So the sign-in is also for petitions and requests, or just general, bless you, or just general comments?
I think it could be both. Think it could be, I think what I would envision would be something, whether it's a sign-in sheet or a comment card that says, I have a general petition or request, or I would like to speak on this particular agenda item that's coming up tonight. So I think it could be two separate ones, one for petitions and requests and one for items on the agenda, or it could be a place for people to indicate, I want to speak during this meeting during this time slot. And again, if somebody comes in later, I think we can figure out some processes so that if somebody comes in later in the meeting, I mean, we could put after the beginning of the meeting, we could put it up on Ms. Anderson's table or come up, and I think we could also come up with some digital ways to do this, as well as papers that could work together. So I think, and I think it's also noted here that the idea is primarily for regular meetings. But for work sessions, we tend to be a little bit more flexible with people wanting to comment.
Just let me follow up here. So the comment card could also be used, for example, if someone had a comment on an agenda item and maybe they weren't able to stay for the
Correct.
entire meeting, right? So we tend to have longer meetings. That is a way for them to get on record their comment if they're not able to stay for that actual agenda item. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, Councilmember Fritz.
Yeah, I think where this is helpful is if people indicate which item or items they want to speak to, that can also help us understand how much time on the agenda we want to use for public comment for each of those items as well, so that we actually, we don't find ourselves at the end of the night, especially if we're trying to set our limits. I think that's going to require us to be a little more judicious in how we structure the conversation. And I do think this will probably be iterative. I don't think that I think we have to see how this works out, and I would want to change it if there's something that isn't working. But I do think that trying to get more into a flow of, okay, we know there are 5 people here to speak on this. If they use their full time, that is 15 minutes of public comment on that item, versus petitions, sometimes. And I think, as I think, I forget which colleague mentioned it, but we are rather unique in how we structure public comment. Generally, a lot of bodies put all the public comment at one point in the front of the meeting, so people don't wait the whole meeting to make their comment if they're speaking on a specific item. But I think that there's a variety of views on how we should structure that. But I do think being aware of how many people want to speak on an item, even if they change their mind later, helps us be proactive in planning that out so we have an idea.
Well, thank you. Does that, Ms. Niesel, does that satisfy your inquiry?
Yes, and I remember from MML, one of my favorite seminars was on meeting management, and they said, may we all be so lucky to have, or one person was like, maybe we all be so lucky to have a line out the door of public comment. And the guy who was running the meeting said, no, that's your worst nightmare. If you have a meeting like that, then it should have been a work session or a town hall or something like that. So what I would be all for is having, introducing a sign-in sheet on a larger scale for something like a town hall, where we really are working on keeping track of everyone who's speaking, what they were speaking on, something that really would assist our clerks and city administration. What I would not be for is putting anything in place that placed additional requirements on people speaking at a public meeting at this point.
I hear you. Any other comments? Is anybody online? Councilmember Pope.
So if you have the cards and the comment cards, so are you planning on having all the comments read at the beginning of the meeting, or they still have to wait until we get to the agenda item in order for them to give their question or comment? That will be hard to could, if you say, well, we have to be very, watch our time frames that we're currently having, that's going to be difficult to do in any case. I don't think we're going to be able to. If you have 5 people want to speak on the same topic, I don't think you can say, no, we only pick 3 of the people and the other 2 don't get to speak.
I don't think that that's what we're saying. I think it's a question of time management. If we know, if we know we have a topic that has a lot of public comment later, we can move things along, because honestly, a lot of the timing, and we did institute some increased restrictions on council member commentary as well that we have not enforced yet because we haven't passed the final resolution. But I don't think the intention is like, oh, we know we have 10 people who want to speak at this thing later in the agenda. One, either they could hand in their cards and then they could leave and we could read out their comment, and then they don't have to stay. Their comment would be read into the record. Or we know we have a bunch of people interested in that. We need to move through the other things more quickly and maybe curtail our own discussion, or just know that we need to move faster so that we can get to that item later. I don't think it would be as challenging as it seems. But if there's concern, I guess to me it is a small extra burden to me to have people sign in just so they indicate that they would like to speak on a particular topic. So we know what people like. No one wants to speak on this one, but 5 people want to speak on this one. It is a small added burden, but we are not at any point preventing anybody from speaking in the sense they just have to write down their name on the sign-in sheet or fill out a comment card. I think that gives options.
Right. Okay, I see we have a comment from the public. Do you want to take comments from the public as we move through this section by section?
Well, we don't have very many that we need to vote on, so I think yes, we can do that. We don't have a lot.
Okay, please, go ahead. You have a comment, Mr. Orleans?
Thank you, Bill Orleans again. First, let me say I'm thrilled to see our city solicitor here tonight. Good evening, Mr. Deloach. Maybe he can answer this question if council chooses not to. I may not live long enough, probably won't, to see what I'd like to see in Greenbelt and in Greenbelt council meetings, and that is a genuine dialogue. The residents of Greenbelt, by and large, except the 7 elected to council, can't vote, can't make any decisions at council. The 7 elected to council make those decisions. But I've never believed, I don't believe now, and I certainly won't believe in the future, that council should presume the right, as was suggested just a minute ago by Mayor Pro Tem, to speak as much as it does. When council meets, it votes on the questions before it. It should be hearing from residents so that they may vote on the questions before it, but not speaking endlessly, meeting after meeting, taking up the whole meeting, speaking to residents. Here's my question for Mr. Deloach. At some meeting in the future, likely I'm to arrive, and council will have adopted this procedure where I'm theoretically and others are supposed to sign in. In a real meeting, any kind of a meeting, somebody comes to the meeting and they say, I'm not going to talk, I have nothing to talk about, but then they hear something and they raise their hand. That won't be me because I'm intending to raise my hand at every meeting. But that aside, at some prospective meeting, after they've adopted this, I'm going to be coming to a meeting here, city council meeting or work session, and I'm going to hear something that provokes me, and I'm going to raise my hand. Am I to presume that council can get away with not recognizing me or any other resident who did not sign in?
I don't think I haven't heard that. I think that this is something that they're trying to put in place to move the meeting along. I don't think you're precluded if you come in the meeting or if you put a comment card in or want to make a statement. If something comes up during the agenda, I don't know if you're precluded at that point because you haven't filled out a comment card.
You've made me very happy, I think.
I don't, is that what you're saying?
No, I think at that point we would like, if somebody wants to speak, that's why they can sign in at some point during the meeting if they have something that comes up then. I mean, we prefer people to sign in at the beginning, but.
Maybe I should take one more half minute to suggest that was not my scenario. I'm not signing in. I object to it. It's wrong, it's undemocratic, it's un-Republican, it's not Greenbelt. I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to hear something at probably the very next meeting after they've adopted this that will provoke me to raise my hand. Am I to presume that I have to then get up and go to the table and fill out a card in order to be recognized to speak? Because I'm not going to do that either.
Well,
Council will have said something to provoke me to raise
Sir.
my hand. I expect to be
Miss-
recognized.
Please. So I have to tell you, sometimes running a meeting is challenging. And one of the ways that it's challenging is as the chair or as council members, sometimes someone will raise their hand and we won't see it. We'll be looking in the other direction. So by actually filling out a card, it makes it a little bit harder to not recognize someone that has their hand up.
And just for your last point, the mayor and council has a right to come up with their rules, okay? And they can run their meetings the way they see fit. They're in charge of running the meetings. I think there's a balance of getting your voice out and letting the mayor and council run their meetings. So if they come up with a rule that you need to sign in to be recognized, then I think that's something that you should probably do. That's just my advice to you. That's easy to put your signature down there. They're doing this not to muzzle residents. It's clear that they're just trying to manage the meetings, and that's the intent behind this.
Thank you very much. So let's keep moving.
Well, so I guess, it sounds like there are still some concerns about this language. Is there wording or things that Councilmember Niesel or Councilmember McKinney would like to see changed in this that would make them more comfortable? Because I think some of these things we could add into like the comments, the bit at the bottom. I think that clarifies. I do think we need a public comment policy. We haven't created that yet. I think that needs to be written down. And I'm not sure, but in terms of what expectations of comportment and all those sorts of things, I think some of the things that Mayor Jordan reads at the beginning of the meeting in terms of that, I think that should be written down and displayed.
It actually is written down in the rules, but
Yeah,
we could display it more prominently. Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Councilmember Fritz. This is going to be an iterative process, so we can pass a rule like this and we can implement it. And it's going to take a little time for people to become accustomed to doing it. We'll see. We can pass this and see how it works out. Councilmember McKinney.
I'm wondering if there should be a distinction made between comment or this rule during a work session and public hearing versus a regular council meeting. Because I thought that's what I heard.
Yeah,
you
no,
say.
and that is in there. That was
Okay.
intentional. It says during work sessions or public hearings, a sign-in sheet may be used or at the discretion of council persons. We can just do the raise hand to allow more flexibility in work sessions if that seems appropriate. So the distinction is that shall sign in during a regular meeting, may sign in. Like, I think there's still times when, for a public hearing, it's really helpful to have a list of who wants to speak.
Yeah, Councilmember Niesel.
Thanks. I welcome the conversation, and I'm just going to say that I will not vote for anything that requires our public to sign in, so that shall. I love the idea of a comment card, so that if someone is not able to stay for the entire time, that they could write down their comment and we could speak it into record. But at this table, I will not vote for requiring our public to sign in. So even if we change like the wording, so you don't have to worry about me. I'll separately register my no.
Okay. Please go ahead.
If Councilmember Niesel doesn't, I think we should try to do this by consensus. It's a big change, so I'd look favorably upon maybe just moving, to her point, to a comment card system as well. Because I think we should. This is an iterative process, and I think we should try to do this together.
What if we added in shall preferably sign in. Or I mean, I think may is a little too soft.
Well, I think we're trying to solve a problem that isn't there. So that's why I'm kind of a little bit hesitant to even try and put more words to something, which is why I started with this with my original question. And I learned that from Councilmember McKinney.
I think that it would be useful to have this listing, if nothing else, for different agenda items. If we know somebody wants to speak on that, Ms. Anderson could put them in the system and have them already noted as wanting to speak. So I think having a listing will help solve some things, and I think some of the online tools that we have available will also allow things like taking votes through that system, which I think will make a lot of tracking and things a lot less time consuming. So I do think there are some things that this would help with.
Oh, sorry.
Councilmember, please, Niesel. McKinney.
So yes,
Mhm.
I would agree with Councilmember Fritz that we should probably have consensus, but I actually also agree with Councilmember Niesel that it does seem like there needs to be some talking through on the implementation of this. Like, are we going to have a council card? How are we going to register? How are we going to track that? So we may need to figure that out before implementing it. I don't know if I would be in favor of tabling it, but I do think that there's some implementation that needs to happen for it to move forward.
If the concern is requiring people, I think a sign-in sheet is really helpful. But if the concern is shall and requiring it, I still think, I mean, I guess I'm willing to say may sign in or fill a comment, and then so we can pass this and get this in the standing rules that we're going to try some kind of sign in or comment sheet or something, because I think the problem that it does solve is people wanting to submit their comment and then leave, right? That they don't want to stick around until it gets to it in the meeting. But I think I'm willing to try it as may sign in, if that leaves that open enough that we give that a try and we work on some of the implementation, and that leaves it a little bit more open so that we can figure out what works and all of that.
I'm absolutely comfortable with that because it gives us a chance to see how it actually works without requiring it. Yeah.
Okay, so then I would move this text amendment with the modification that it say at a regular meeting may sign in instead of shall sign in. And I think the rest of it is less controversial.
Great.
So, do you want may or should or
No,
will
I think
sign in?
may sign in and indicate the item.
I'll second that.
Okay, are we going to go through and vote on each of these?
I think,
or
yes,
we
we don't have very many left. We only had a few left.
Uh-huh. Okay, so there's a motion that's been seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Let's move on.
So this one, I think this is the one about addressing behavior of council members outside of a public meeting. I think this is important, but I think this is going to take more work. And I think one of the things we may need to do is, when we have a code of conduct for our boards and committees, but I think there's more work that we need to do on this. So I think I would withdraw this text amendment entirely. I think we did part of the changes that I think need to do, but I think we're not ready to put this in the rules yet. I think this needs more work. So I would just like to withdraw this one.
You could certainly do that. Personally, I would have supported putting this in now. I think that we've talked about it quite a bit, and I think it outlines a pretty clear path of progressive approach to commenting and taking action.
Well, so keep in mind, this is not, maybe can you go up one, Ms. Anderson? This is the one that we did already pass that has to do with action behavior during a meeting. So that's the progressive. So if you can go back down to this one. So this one is the one that was specifically about, and I think there were still some things to work out about the city manager's role in this. And I think Ms. Pope's concern was about not necessarily having clear guidelines about what constitutes conduct unbecoming. I think that needs more definition. So I don't want to hold up this whole process. I think this is still important to have, but I think it may be something that we address later.
And I can share my notes or my concerns with you, so you have it in ahead of time. It's basically the same what I said last time, because I think, you know, I'm so sorry. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. My apologies. Unbecoming behavior is it working? Yeah. You know, everybody maybe have a different definition of that, and I think if we're putting language like this in in our guidelines, that there needs to be a lot more work to be done, because it needs to be clearly defined what are we thinking is unbecoming behavior, especially if it has nothing to do with any council activities. So I'll share that with you, and you can take a look at it. But so I'm glad that that we're just about tabling this or taking it off.
Yeah,
for
I
now.
would propose that this isn't ready for us to vote on yet. And so I don't want to hold up the rest of the standing rules until we talk about this one.
Okay.
Although I still think it's worth doing. I think that there are instances where we need to have a mechanism for responding to a council member's behavior if that behavior is inappropriate outside a council meeting, but I think we may need to define it more clearly.
Okay, so you're withdrawing that section.
I'm going to withdraw that section.
And that is section 6,
Yeah.
subsection 9.
Yeah, and I think it was a new subsection 9, actually, so that might change some of the numbering.
Okay.
Is that right?
I think the next one may be the last one we didn't address, and I think this was one proposed by Councilmember Pompey.
Okay. Would you like to speak on this?
Sure, I'm happy to. Yes. Can you hear me? Is this working? Okay. This was this text amendment was to adjust the rules for resolution to allow for adoption on first reading by a majority of council within certain limitations. Right now, what we do is our charter allows for this. Our charter only calls for ordinances to be read twice, but it will just speed along things, like, because resolutions and ordinances are done for different things. Resolutions are done generally like something that's temporary. So we pass a resolution for our budget, right, every year. We passed this resolution tonight where we had to suspend the rules to do, so we could do the second reading to support a specific piece of legislation or to take a policy position. Except for in very specific instances where I lay out here, which I lay out here in this ordinance or this change, there's just not a lot of reason for us to have 2 readings on most of this stuff. And we also can use them for spending as well, like for contracts. And it's better for us to do that because it makes more sense for us to actually have a resolution backing up like a large contract than it is just to have a vote. So that's kind of my thinking on this. I don't know if Jason wants to weigh on this because he knows lots more about ordinances and resolutions than I do. So if he wants to just make any comments on this.
You're one of the only municipalities that I represent that have 2 readings for resolutions. Okay. Resolutions are typically less formal, like you said. They're temporary. Ordinances are law. So it makes sense to have 2 readings. It makes sense to give residents more time to weigh in on it and to understand it. But resolutions, I mean, it doesn't make it right or wrong that you're the only one who does it. I don't represent every municipality, but 2 readings of a resolution is not something that most of my municipalities do. It's something that can be read that night, passed that night. So. And as long as the charter doesn't require it, you're free to make this change without formal resolution for charter change.
Okay. Any discussion on this one? I am not in favor of making this change. I think it's simple enough to suspend the rules in special order resolution. I think that Greenbelters are accustomed to having a chance to weigh in on an issue. I think with our the fact that we have a local newspaper, the news review that comes out and talks about first reading of resolutions, and as a result of publicizing them, people learn about them. And no matter what we do, it seems like some folks don't get the word about actions that council is about to take. So I, for one, am not especially in favor of making this change. I don't think it'll really make that much of a difference. Any other comments?
I think I agree with Mayor Jordan. I think it's sometimes helpful, to have a few weeks to think about it, even for residents, and then come back or make a final decision. So, but yeah, I don't think we need to make this change right now.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
I guess there is nothing stopping us from saying we want to talk about a topic and at one meeting and then introducing the resolution the next meeting, or even if we choose to having a second reading. I think it doesn't preclude that. It just makes the default, except in these cases, one resolution. That doesn't mean we can't do two readings if we choose to, or we think, oh, there's more, we need to do this, we need to do it. Like maybe we bring it up for a discussion and there's a lot of discussions like, oh, okay, we need to bring this back next time instead of passing it tonight. I think making the default one reading for most resolutions doesn't mean we can't spend more time if it seems appropriate. So I think it makes sense. And I think it, as Mr. Deloach comments, it's fairly unusual to have resolutions come up for two readings in this fashion.
Councilmember Pompey?
And I would also say, just because you're passing something on the first reading doesn't mean that there's no discussion. I mean, there would just be discussion after the first reading instead of there being no discussion. Correct? Like we would just talk about it like normally we do after a second reading. There would be a chance for people to talk and to weigh in and all of that. It would just be done after the first reading instead of after the second.
And the only thing I would say is some resolutions have more formality than others. You brought up a contract, okay? You use a resolution to pass a contract, okay, to adopt a contract. Sometimes two readers can be problematic. So I think Mayor Pro Tem made a good point. Giving you the option of doing it on the first reader doesn't mean you have to do it every single time. So you can categorize certain resolutions. Hey, if it's a contract, we can do it on the first reader. We typically do that. But if it's something that's a little bit more, has some formality to it, then you take the time you want.
Your point's well taken. Any other council comments? I'll just say, please go ahead.
I don't have a strong opinion on this one, so it inclines me to vote no, because I don't, to the point of what problem is this solving? Generally, operationally, we are able to suspend the rules. I don't think that,
Oh, that's the door downstairs.
All right, well,
I wonder if
Somebody went out the window.
some people have some very
okay, so we won't vote
strong
until Mr. Summerone comes back. Oh, there.
I mean, on the one, I see it both ways. I see on the one side, when you suspend the rules too often, it's a bad rule, because you're just not operating within your rules. You're saying that these suspension of the rules is supposed to be for extraordinary circumstances. I tend to feel that there's no reason why we can't have two reads for most resolutions, but I also don't feel like it needs to be a requirement. So that kind, I've alligator zigzagged like back and forth 3 times, because I don't think the rule is particularly good, but I also don't think that it's problematic enough to change either. So I would probably I would like to have, maybe as a courtesy to our residents, we assume a 2-read process for resolutions. But it doesn't need to be in the rules that there's a to read, I guess would be how I say it. Maybe if we could explicate that a little bit, because I think the status quo is fine, but I do also think that suspending the rules too often means that our rules are too rigid and we're kind of bypassing them too much. So I don't have strong feelings. I could, yeah. So I'll leave that to discussion.
Councilmember Niesel.
Thanks. I wonder how people would feel if we did contract resolutions, called out contract resolutions as just requiring a first read, because that's where I see there being like a pretty clear delineation. That is where a lot of staff time and expertise and experts have gone in together. And that is something I'm very comfortable with entrusting our staff to do after we've reviewed it. Other things that have more intricacies, I can understand leaving as the status quo. But if we just add contract in there, would that work for council? So contract resolutions could be introduced by first reading or adopted on its introduction at the first reading.
Councilmember Pompey.
I mean, I think that's like an important use of resolutions, so I would definitely support that.
I guess just based on my experience sitting in these council meetings and hearing these resolutions introduced for first reading, people they're hearing about them for the first time. So perhaps the contracts could be a compromise, but I think the two readings, I think it's something that we really do for our citizens, our residents' benefit. So I would rather keep with that. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, but I think if we look at the example of the resolution this evening, it was time sensitive, but not really an emergency. But in order to pass it tonight, we had to do a suspension of the rules. Does that make sense? Like for something it was taking a policy position we had already supported. We just wanted to formalize it as a resolution. And and we've done a lot of those. And that really, why should we have to suspend the rules to do something like that? Should that not just be the default? So I'm not sure that I think that we want to say just contract resolutions. I think a lot of things that we pass as resolutions, or we would put more things as resolutions, and that's where they belong if the default was one read. And it does specify as long as the full text of the resolution is made available to the public prior to the vote. So we're saying, this has to be published ahead of time, the full text. It has to be noted to the public what the full resolution is before we bring it to a vote.
Councilmember McKinney.
Is it possible to then just leave it a little bit more open in the second sentence? So instead of saying a second is not required, could we say something like a second may be required, so that leaves it open? So you still have the default, but then it's a little bit more clear that if you need a second reading.
I think that second is actually about the ordinance.
And I'll say sometimes from staff, an ordinance or a resolution will be introduced, and maybe there's a piece of information that's not quite there. So in the interim between the first reading and the second reading, sometimes modifications are made that really need to happen. I saw you had your hand up, and then Councilmember Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to reiterate the point that Mr. Deloche made, that from my experience, this is very unique that council has two readings for a resolution. We would bring a lot more resolutions if they were one reads. For example, in addition to the contracts, council has removed parking on public spaces based on a voice vote. I think those would be things that should be memorialized through a resolution. And there are several activities that council have executed through voice votes that I think they'll be best if memorialized through a resolution.
They're easier to find on the website.
Councilmember Fritz.
So I guess if we're getting into, these are, most of our resolutions are uncontroversial, passed unanimously. We don't really debate, but in the case where maybe there is split opinion or someone really wants more information, the second read, suspending the rules requires 6 votes rather than a majority of
Correct.
5. So that is one actual difference that does exist, that it gives the ability of 2 members to basically withhold their votes and require a second vote. Versus if we move just to an affirmative vote of the majority, this changes the threshold after one meeting. So I think that is something just worth considering, that if a controversial measure comes up and 5 members are really insistent upon it coming forward, this rule does give people more time, even if a majority wants to move forward. So I would maybe say, maybe it should be, we can dispense with, maybe, I don't know, if there's unanimity, that might be a better threshold. If it's unanimous among the council, we can dispense with a second read, but the default might be a second read unless there's unanimous support. Because I do think that is like a practical difference in the voting threshold that we're making.
That's a good point. Occasionally, one of us will be on travel, or maybe 2 of us. So, just from a pragmatic standpoint, a super majority of the people that are there at a meeting. So I know.
Be all members voting and present and voting.
Yeah, yeah. We've had a couple of close calls with our budget, the final adoption of the budget, where someone was sick and we had to scramble to get everybody here. We didn't have to.
That sort of goes to the point, right? Of like, if you could just read it the budget in one resolution and not have to suspend the rules, there you go. Like, you wouldn't have to scramble. You wouldn't have to wait if someone was sick. We wouldn't be running up against the deadline like that. So
Definitely wouldn't want to do that. I think that the budget needs to have as much time for people to hear and think.
We have plenty of time for people to hear the budget.
Well, we could just talk about this some more. Or what do you want to do? You want to vote on this or what?
I think we should just vote on this as it, unless I haven't heard any changes to this put forward as a motion.
yeah, let's just vote.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Wait, city manager Summeron.
Yes, I'm sorry. The language, I think ordinance, should that be changed to resolution in the text that the?
No, I think this was, I think that was specifically about, this section talks about ordinances as well.
The amendment is the second sentence. Should be
Yeah, I
after the
think,
introduction,
I
first
don't
reading.
have this as tracked changes, but I'm pretty sure that first sentence already existed in the previous rules. And it's just the second part that is the tracked changes part. Yeah, I think so. So what was changed in that first sentence was it used to say the first reading of an ordinance or resolution shall be for information, shall go on the, yeah, I think what is changing is that that part is what is already in the rules. The second part is what's changing.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes. thank you.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take. Yes. Who was the second?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. I think
Was that
4-3.
So that doesn't pass.
Yeah. Okay. And
No, I thought Ms.
No, sorry, it's 3-4. Sorry, 3-4.
Yeah, Ms. McKinney was no as well. So I think I heard
so it
Pope,
did not.
Fritz, Jordan, McKinney, no.
4 no. Yeah.
4
okay.
no's.
Okay. So what else do we have?
I think that was the last one that was unresolved.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. I think we need to go back and adopt the council rules as a whole.
Well, I think what we're
Or do we
going
need
to have
to
to
draft
do.
a
Yeah, so I
resolution?
think we'll make those changes and make a clean copy for a resolution, which will take 2 readings.
Right. And at that time, this is substantial changes and modifications to the council rules. So certainly, any one of us can articulate an objection or to a section, or we can make a statement to that effect. But we will collectively vote on it. perhaps at the next meeting.
We'll add it to the agenda for next meeting, first reading.
All right, all right. Well, let's see, where does that leave us? I know, item number 14, legislative review, state and county bills. Council is now going to review our legislative tracking document to provide staff with direction on current bills in the State House and County Council. This review allows us to actively influence regional policy on essential issues like transit, zoning authority, environmental protections, and we'll focus on adjusting our current positions or identifying new bills that require an official stance from the city. So at this point in the session, I think it's like 35 more days left in the session, something 30 some odd days. So we're getting to a point now where many of the committees have had their hearings on bills, and it's coming down to a question of which bills are actually going to cross over to get support both in the House and the Senate. And that way they would be able to move forward. So we've heard from our contractor, Mr. Darrell Carrington, that we need to kind of focus our energy on hearings that are coming up and on bills that we can really have an impact on. As Mr. Carrington has said, some bills just don't have legs to cross over. And it's unfortunate because there are some bills that the Greenbelt Council is passionate about that just are not going to aren't going to fly. And unfortunately, I think one example is the bottle bill. It's something that we've advocated for, and that's requiring a deposit on glass and plastic bottles so that people would have to return them instead of throwing them away. So it's unfortunate, but that's one bill that Mr. Carrington feels is not going to move. Councilmember Pompey, do you want to share your screen? Or
I don't know if I need to share my screen. I think the hope was that, if council had specific questions at this point about bills, they would ask them.
Is there any way you can share your screen and put that on?
Can I share my screen?
Right, I think was the memo the one that were those things we needed to vote on?
Yeah, where there's draft
I
letters
assumed
that
these were the
attached.
ones that we needed to do action, that we needed action on.
What page is that? That's page
1.
201. Okay. Yeah, Councilmember Fritz, please.
And if there are other bills, do we want to do that before or after this memo? Because
Let's do the memo
Okay.
first and then add. It'll be an iterative process. What do you say? Yeah, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll just add for additional context that we are having a weekly legislative meeting, so a lot of the bills that are before you, they have gone through at least one initial screening. Others, such as the first one on the list, the National League of Cities, that's coming through different committees that different council members sit on. So there has been some discussion prior to that, and that's why they're before you for approval, so that these can move on to the next step, which would be more formally taking a position on the bills. And Councilmember Pompey, did I miss anything from our meetings?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, this first one on the list, this one is actually federal legislation. This is the Basics Act about infrastructure. And so this is one that I sent for consideration. It is one of the ones that the National League of Cities has put prioritizing. And I mean, it kind of says here, but they're really trying to get more direct to localities, municipalities, funding for transportation. And I think they did a draft letter. And so I would just like to move that we formally support and send this letter to our congressional delegation about the Basics Act.
Okay, I'll second that. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. Next up, it was HB
1066, which is municipal elections qualified electronic transmission systems authorized for use. So we had talked about this before, and it basically would help us with our elections, particularly if we do go through ranked choice voting. It'll be important that there are qualified electronic systems through which we can conduct our voting. So this is a letter in support of that.
Okay, and this is, I believe the Senate bill is Senator Kagan. She's over in Montgomery County. She's a good friend of municipalities and has several of them, and she's a strong advocate for ranked choice voting as well. So is there any additional discussion on this, or would someone like to make a motion to adopt this and send a letter about this bill?
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Fritz, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem has seconded. Any discussion? Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
Because I have not read this. So electronic transmission, I assume it's it's talking about like the voting equipment that's at a polling place, right?
That's right.
So it's not, because that's odd phrasing to me, but it's not
Not
talking
emailing
about like,
ballots.
it's not talking about online voting. It's talking about ba- voting systems that are at a polling place, correct? Okay,
Tally votes
okay.
automatically.
Yeah, I meant to go
Or
and look
other-
at the
and
bill
other
I
things,
forgot,
but-
I didn't look at that either, so I'm not gonna support it at this time, but.
I think it is. So yeah, that's a weird phrasing. Qualified electronic transmission system. Like that seems that seems.
The bill is 2 pages, so it's very.
Yeah, I
we
guess
could,
I
we
could.
could read it right now.
It essentially sets the standard for what that qualified equipment is. It's end-to-end verification, multi-factor authentication, air gapping, meaning there's no connection to the device, require decrypted ballots, biometric digital identity verification technologies. So
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not very long. I just pulled it up.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
who can argue with that? No, actually, voting, having equipment that verifies and makes the voting process more transparent and traceable, I mean, that's important.
I always have this really small. I'm looking
What
at my own
one
stuff.
thing I would raise is we are prepared to do this because we have a vendor that certifies that the equipment we're using, but I don't know what the rest of the state is and how they're running municipal election. But this will put a burden on some municipalities to meet
It's
all
a
the
good point,
requirements.
because the state doesn't really run municipal elections. Each municipality runs their own elections, and it might put a burden on really, really small communities that may be renting their equipment from the county or from a vendor. What did MML take a position on this? Councilmember McKinney.
Thank you for saying that we are already in position to basically pull this through. My question is there additional budget requirements in order to pull this type of system through? Or have you already assumed this system for our upcoming budget?
Assumed.
We have not considered all these elements, and I'll have to speak with our vendor about if there are any concerns with these. Now, what I can speak to is for the air gapping, for example, our counting machines do not connect to any device while they're counting. So there's no internet connection to it. It's its own individualized machine. On the process of decrypting and creating a paper record, our machines do that. The end-to-end verifiability, the USB cards with the data, those are unique cards. There's no duplication of those cards. The multi-factor authentication, I will have to speak. That's one I wouldn't know if our machines are capable of that because there's no connection to any electronic device other than what they can count. So because we haven't had the standard to verify the contract against. I don't know if our contractor will verify this. I don't think any of this will be a challenge for our vendor and our contractor to fulfill.
Okay, well, it's a bill, so we can choose to support it. And if there are some challenges that we would have with implementing all aspects of it during the election 2 years from now, we have a little bit of time, a year and a half from now, to work it out. Is there any additional discussion? If not, I'd like to go ahead and take a vote. The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And that's going to bring us up to the next bill, which is Senate Bill 23 and House Bill 695, Green and Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofits. It's a loan program fund establishing loans to, and I think I can describe this. It's a good bill. It would actually set up a loan fund that nonprofit organizations could take advantage of no interest loans that would allow them to purchase and install qualifying energy systems and actions that improve energy efficiency. Um, and the fiscal note was $5 million in 2028 for that fund. I think it's a good thing. We have a lot of nonprofits in the area, in the region. Some are just starting out, and if they do have offices or a building that they own, or one that they can improve in some way, I think it's a challenge sometimes for them to manage the expenses that might be associated with green energy improvements. So I think it's a simple bill, and I think it's a good idea. And I'd like to actually move that we support this. Is there a second? Okay. Is there a discussion? Well, if there's no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Let's see. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, Senate Bill 0281. This is Senator Augustine's bill, Metro Funding Modification Act of 2026. And this would essentially modify the funding mechanisms and make the funding mechanisms for Metro a little bit more sustainable and more flexible, which we obviously support. I don't know if there are any other questions on that, but I think that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it. The governor sorry, I just lost it. It would require the governor to withhold 35% of the annual appropriation for grants to the Washington Suburban Transit District under certain circumstances. Yeah, so it's really just to protect and sort of make that funding a little more flexible.
Yeah,
And it's, as we say it's sort of consistent with our regional transportation goals.
Yeah, I would just add on that that's very much the case. This is a major bill. Our partners in the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments are Senator Malcolm Augustine's bill is actually carrying the water for the efforts from COG to get closer to a dedicated funding source for Metro transit funding. And that's what the 35% withholding that annual appropriation would actually provide greater continuity from year to year. Senator Augustine is the state senator for District 47, which is Bladensburg, so they're our neighbors. So I strongly support endorsing this. Did you make the motion?
Yeah, so we draft a letter of support for Senate Bill 0281.
I'll second that. Is there any council discussion? Because we have a public comment.
Thank you, Bill Orleans. No doubt at the next regular meeting, there will be a name read off during the moment of silence. She was present last meeting, and she drove herself home, and we had a discussion in the car about how I was too critical of council and specifically of the mayor. We argued. After she got out of the car to go home, I got out of the car to tell her one last time that I love our mayor and council. But hypocrites need to be challenged. Do you know what the budget of the Washington Suburban Transit Commission is, Mr. Mayor, or any member of council? It's less than $1 million a year. Withholding 35%, and that's not all state money. Some of that's county money. But withholding less than 35% of $1 million a year is not going to sustain the Washington Metropolitan Area Authority. It's been suggested to council over the course of the last couple of months as it relates to the COG DMV moves resolution that what was put together after 2.5 years of effort, which was intended to be a sustainable, dedicated funding for Metro, was in fact not sustainable and not dedicated. Withholding 35% of less than $1 million from the WSTC is not going to do a damn thing for Metro. I'm all for endorsing anything Malcolm has to say. I know Malcolm. I've known him for years. I like him. He's a former member of the WSDC. He's a former member of the board of directors of Metro. If this is the best he can do, Malcolm's got a lot of work to do. I love my mayor. I love my council. With respect, if you vote on this, you're hypocrites because you don't know what the budget of the WSDC is.
Mr. Orleans. That being said, is there anybody online by any chance who's just aching, got their hand up?
No one has their hand up.
Okay. Okay. Discussion by council? Well, let's go ahead and call the question.
I guess I'm a little bit confused about what this. So the purpose is to leverage the funding for the transit authority. Is that right? That we're trying to I mean, it looks like some of the requirements are to try to leverage the funding for certain actions by WMATA. Okay.
That's correct. I imagine the Transportation Planning Board has, talked about the need for funding and perhaps about this bill specifically.
I haven't heard them talk about this bill specifically.
Councilmember Fritz, did you have a
That I
comment?
recall.
Well, the text of the bill, it's confusing if you're not reading the full text of the bill. It says the governor shall withhold 35% of the appropriation under paragraph 1 of the subsection if the following requirements are not met. So the two requirements deal with if WMATA does not reach a conclusion with its collective bargaining process, or if there is a reduction in force for the automation of the rail system. So the withholding language is in reference to protecting the collective bargaining agreements and the jobs of WMATA employees. It's not saying we're withholding this money. It's saying if you don't come to a collective bargaining agreement or you automate jobs without consulting with your workforce, you cannot count on Maryland's full contribution is how I read the operative text, which I read as a pro-labor measure, but I think if you're just reading the top line, it says reduction of 35%. That is very confusing, and I understand why Mr. Orleans would be frustrated by just reading that top line if you haven't read the full bill. And you do have to skim it. There are subsequent provisions as well, but the withholding language specifically seems to be about collective bargaining and reduction in force.
I think it also requires the governor to include in the annual budget each year grants to pay capital cost for WMATA and making, once again, this act contingent upon the enactment of legislation by Virginia and D.C. So it's a regional thing. Any other comments? Well, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's see. Councilmember Pompey, where are we?
We are on CR 014216. I think that's supposed to be maybe 226. But so this is a bill, this is a county council bill on the creation of a Prince George's County Streamlining Development Review Work Group. And at the recommendation of our
Did we skip some? I thought we were at data privacy.
Yeah, we went from Metro to data privacy. So 711.
HB 711 and Senate Bill 504.
Those
That's in the memo?
We're looking at the memo.
letters. So, okay.
Well,
sorry, I was reading through the letters.
Okay.
Sorry, where were we then?
That's Senate Bill 711, House Bill 711, Senate Bill 504, data privacy, consumer data, public records, and message switching system, the Data Privacy Act, prohibiting a certain controller from selling the personal data of consumers to a purchaser who seeks to use the data for immigration enforcement, requiring the custodian of public records to take responsible steps, reasonable steps to determine whether a public record is accessed for enforcing immigration law and requiring an entity that operates a certain messaging switching system to take certain actions regarding system access, requiring certain procedures of certain government entities to account for data containing sensitive attributes. And this is House Bill 711 for first reading. I think is that coming up this week or next week?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Might be coming up next week. Wait, it might be this week, actually.
So, I mean, it references the controller, so I think, well, I know it has to do with privacy and forbidding, the comptroller or agencies connected with tax collection from selling personal data to any entity that's intending to use that for immigration enforcement.
Correct. I brought this bill up because this is something that is of particular interest to our residents, as I think we actually heard tonight. Residents talking about protecting data, the data of residents, particularly from people using it, interested in using it to enforce immigration law. So I brought this up to propose council's support for this. And this would not just only protect people who are immigrants, this would protect all of us, obviously. It's,
So it's a motion. I'll second that motion. Let's discuss this. Any discussion?
So is the action to send a letter in support of this?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Well, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. That's going to bring us to House Bill 1575, Senate Bill 791, Correctional Service and Public Safety, Immigration Enforcement Prohibitions, and this is called the Community Trust Act. Councilmember Pompey?
Sure. Prohibiting employees and agents of state and local correctional facilities from taking certain actions related to immigration enforcement, subject to certain exceptions, and prohibiting law enforcement agents from taking certain actions related to immigration enforcement, subject to certain exceptions. And this bill is actually right in line with our own ordinance, which is why I thought it would be something good for us to support, because this is what we already do this on a local level.
Okay, who's the sponsor for this bill? Just out of curiosity, I don't have that in front of me. I should probably know.
There.
Okay.
A lot. There.
Phillips is the main sponsor.
Okay, and our delegation as a whole, are they supporting this?
Martinez.
C. Williams.
Williams.
Okay, it sounds like they are.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's no discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So testimony provided, I did have an opportunity to testify before the Economic Matters Committee on Mary Lehman's bill regarding the Patuxent Research Refuge and the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center zoning classification. So that hearing was recorded. You can go back and look at that on YouTube if you like. I thought it went very well. The panel, the former mayor of Bowie, Gary Allen, and the river keeper, Fred Tutman, was there, along with a couple of other environmental organizations. I thought the testimony was well received, and I was proud to be able to share the feelings of Greenbelters with that committee on that bill. What else do we have?
Jimmy sent us an update on county legislation, and I'm not going to go through each one of these right now because they take a while to get through. But the one we did want to discuss was CR 014-2026, a resolution concerning Prince George's County streamlining development work groups. So the purpose of establishing a work group to recommend policies and practices to the county council and executive to improve efficiency, reduce redundancy, and implement best practices in the land development review process. And it was referred to the PHED community. So what Jimmy Tarlow, our county council lobbyist, actually suggested was that we write a letter to the chair supporting this, but also asking to be included in the work group and suggesting that possibly our cities or many cities permitting and code enforcement staffs could help with the permitting process in accordance with county zoning guidelines. So this is sort of a way for us to sort of step into the zoning space, and it would be a way of sort of alleviating some of the pressure on the county. I mean, I feel like we've talked about this many times on this council. Like, this is a way we could have a real impact on the work that they're doing and sort of speed things up for people trying to develop stuff here in Greenbelt. So it was Jimmy's suggestion that we write this letter because this sort of goes towards our goals of wanting to be more involved with zoning, and it also, is copacetic with the county council's goal of streamlining development. So development review.
Right, right. So
So-
it's zoning, it's permitting also. I mean,
It's
the
really
city.
about the permitting.
Permitting.
That we would want to help with.
And we in Greenbelt, we certainly have the capacity to do more. I think it would actually be more efficient and save the county some time and money to delegate some of those powers to municipalities that have the inclination. Also, if there were a way for us to do that, we might be able to actually provide that service to smaller municipalities that do not have the capacity. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we send a letter of support regarding the establishment of this work group. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And what do we have? Last up, we've got the common ownership communities. I believe it's CR 005 2026.
I don't think it passed out of council ununanimously. There were some concerns, but I think overall council felt like the benefit to the public at having more access to contracts and financial information outweighed some concerns that it may be burdensome for smaller HOAs to have to provide all of that information publicly.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing, Bill, to keep an eye on. It did pass out of committee. I don't know, 3 readings, and it goes to the committee as a whole. I having served on a condo board, I have some concerns. Not so much, I mean, members should always be able to have access to their bylaws and covenants. It's very, very important that they do so. When you buy a unit, you get a copy of those, and they should be online. I'm not so sure about having all of the contracts posted online. I think that members should be able to access that information within 24 hours, but it just seems like having it posted online might create some, not that those contracts are proprietary, but if a HOA is able to work out a really good deal with a entity, maybe they don't want to publicize it so much, but the members, the people, the owners should have a right to see that information. That's how I feel about it. So we're just kind of tracking that, right? Okay. Was there anything else that our contractors wanted us to look at? And apparently there's some new bills that we wanted to consider.
No, I think everything was included here.
Sounds like Councilmember Fritz may have some.
Yeah, so one that I'm following, it's Senator, I believe it's Sidnor and Delegate Wims, HB 350. It's on our tracking list. Sorry, 350, sorry, HB 0350, or SB 255 or 350 HB. This would create a Voting Rights Act for municipal. Basically, it would apply Voting Rights Act guidelines to municipal elections and allow municipalities to be sued for compliance with Voting Rights Act standards. It's passed the Senate already. Senator Washington did vote for it. MML sent a letter in opposition on January 27th. It's just something I think might be worth considering whether or not, because I know it has been a discussion at large systems in the past, have been a discussion in the city, that this could be a potential vector that people could seek redress. I don't know where a court would find that. I'm not commenting on whether or not that is, but I know that's why MML opposes it, and their testimony says it's very prescriptive on the judicial side, letting the judges kind of design voting systems, is their argument. I don't know if I agree with that argument, but it's just something I think worth monitoring because I think that would have a direct impact on us potentially if it were to pass.
So in terms of our spreadsheet and how we're tracking that, and I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, is that a priority bill to kind of look at, or what
just
are
li-
our contractors? It's just on
It's
there, but
listed as monitor, but
monitor.
I figured we might want to just raise it up. I don't think we've discussed it before. I wanted to raise it up because it has passed the Senate, so it will be going to the House.
We don't know if it's going to cross over. So can we just heighten our awareness around that and find out what our contractors are thinking?
Yeah, we could just ask Daryl to flag it, that we could flag it for Daryl.
The House, yeah, if it's going to move in the House.
Anything else? All right. Hey, well, I want to thank council for their attentiveness to these bills and this process. We're nearing the halfway point, so I think there are times when our letters and stances do make a difference. So it's a lot to follow, but I want to thank you all for being attentive to the process. And at this time, we're going to go on to item number 15, council reports. Anybody have a council report?
No, I didn't have any for this.
Okay, well, let's, item number 16, council activities. It's been busy.
Yeah, no, I think we got, I'm not sure if we got everything in there, but, here's what we have since the last council meeting.
Yeah. Hey, that Black History Month program, the breakfast Congressman Hoyer and Ivy had over at Martin's Crosswind, that was some event.
Very inspiring.
Very inspiring. A great speaker.
Mhm.
And I suppose that's going to be, well, not the last one, the Congressman
It was his
Hoyer.
last.
Yeah.
It's
So,
great, though.
yeah, very impactful. I didn't get a chance to hear the data center forum. How was that?
It was great. I mean, COG does such a great job of they really understand how things like data centers impact, local governments. And they had such a great range and variety of speakers who had different experiences in the space. And, really sort of what I came away with is that there's still a lot of gaps in what we know and what we don't know. And like, we need to know more. And like, we need to be better prepared for what the future of data centers look like here in Prince George's County. And the impression that I got from our water suppliers is we're not really prepared for that. Like, we don't know what that would look like or how we would manage it. So, I think there's a lot to learn, and it's going to have a huge impact on our environmental and um, you know uh, land use and electricity and all of that. It has to do with it's just very complicated. But one of the points that one of the speakers made was like, if you have a phone, then you're using a data center. So you have to like keep that in mind, that we all use data centers. And the other thing he said was just to remember, though, when you're thinking about data centers, the cloud is not in the sky. The cloud is in our watersheds and in our wetlands. So that's like really kind of hit home to me, the impact that they have on our environment, and it sort of changes the way you really think about it. It's not up here; it's right here with us. So anyway, it was great. It was a great forum.
Let's see, anyone want to comment on any of these other activities?
Trying to remember, is it advisory, am I missing advisory committee for, am I missing something in there? What's the other A?
Advancing.
Is it advancing public safety?
ACAPS.
Hey, I did have a chance to actually participate in the annual Maryland Mayors Association conference out in Annapolis. That's why I wasn't at the meet and greet, and it was really uplifting. We talked a lot about policy and advocacy. Of course, we kind of combined that with Advocacy Day. But in the evening, we had a chance to talk with Governor Moore. He addressed us along with the Lieutenant Governor. And on Friday, we had an interesting workshop where there was a discussion, work groups kind of looking at the municipal AI policies, trying to kind of formulate them. And there were 4 or 5 different work groups, and I'm trying to get a hold of the the output from each of the groups because I know that the state of Maryland has a policy, and I know that our city manager has been looking at that. But it would be nice. It's a policy decision for the city as a whole, and I think we need to kind of take a look at where we are in the city and where we would like to be in the future with AI utilization.
So we're working on internal policies. AI, the challenge I see with AI is so pervasive in a lot of the tech that we use. Um, from your Excel sheet, or now our Acrobat system can summarize PDF files. So all that is AI technology. So it's so integrated into our technology now that some of these things are already happening, have already happened in ways that we weren't calling it AI. From a policy perspective internally, we've discussed it significantly. We have a draft policy on how to regulate its use, to put guardrails on the teams and how to use it. One thing we have provided some informal guidance to the employees. One, we're not endorsing any technology. We also have asked staff to not upload any sensitive information to any of the AI agents because we just don't have control over that information. So that has been the informal guidance. Now, I believe the COG issued a report on what they're calling the shadow AI, meaning how much of it is the workforce already using it. And something like 70% of the workforce is already using it. So there's no getting around it. And that presents particular challenges because there are some data suggesting that folks are using it as a way to replace their own workflows, their own processes, and in places their own thinking. And I think that's dangerous when employees are using that as its own substitute, its own thinking. So along those lines, we've told employees that if you use it, you're going to use any of that content, you're going to be responsible for that content. So we're going to hold folks responsible that is their content, and they can't say, oops, the AI got it wrong. We have to own any output and outcome of those systems. But we're going to continue to explore, have those conversations. Again, we have started a drafting a policy based on the guidance COG and ICMA has provided because we have to. There's no, we can't really wait any longer. It's so pervasive in our workforce that we have to use it. We have to implement some sort of policy.
It really is. And, on the flip side of what you said, I mean, there are opportunities. There's things, and I know you're thinking long and hard and working with staff, but there are things that we could be doing that would streamline and better serve the interest of our residents.
Oh,
By
absolutely.
incorporating
We're using it in this meeting.
finance and things. Yeah.
Well, we haven't in finance yet. I think the budget still has to be manually calculated. But we're using it for this meeting. For example, just in this meeting, I have Otter and we have the AI companion, and it generates a summary. But we have to review it. And what I'm getting at is that you're going to use these things, but we have to review it, and we have to take ownership of the output of those. We can't just rely on that output because it gets things wrong. It gets my name wrong all the time.
Well, your name's kind of hard, getting those accents in the right place. I'm working on that.
But not just making light of the simple things that get wrong. So it does misinterpret and incorrectly record a lot of things, and we just have to be vigilant about what it's recording.
Okay. Well, at this point, Councilmember Fritz, please.
I just want to say very quickly to that point, I don't think most people realize how much is already being filtered through AI. Like I was watching one of those videos about how to turn off Google's AI, and Gmail looked completely different because features that have been on there, if you use Gmail and you see a promotions folder and the 3 different folders that most people are used to, when I turned off AI, it took away that feature that had been there for 5+ years because I didn't realize, although now in retrospect it makes sense, that those emails are being sorted by AI, that the filters are AI coded. And that that we've been using it inadvertently, for many years before we even realized. But I think only now, are we starting to look at the full impact of that, because people are very aware of it right in this moment. But yeah, I just wanted to agree with your point, for folks, that it is very pervasive, and I didn't know how much I was using it even unintentionally.
Very good, very good. Anyone else have comments on council activities? Because if not, we need to move on. I believe we have an executive session to go into. Is that correct? Is that the next item?
Yes, I think so. Will Mr. Martinez be joining us as well? Okay. So I move that council go into closed session in accordance with Section 3-305B1, 7, and 8 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. 2, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. And 3, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. The purpose of this meeting will, 1, to be discuss personnel matters, 2, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, and 3, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. In addition to counsel, City Manager Josue Samaron, City Solicitor Jason Deloach, and Director of Human Resources Dwayne Martinez will be in the closed session. Note that council will not return to open session following this closed session.
Very good. Is there a second? Councilmember Pope has seconded. Is there any discussion? And if not, City Clerk Anderson, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Niesel,
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney. Yes. Councilmember Pompey,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, and let's see, it's about 9:46 right now. Let's go ahead and clear the room. If anybody needs to take a bio break, this is the perfect time.